Am I the arsehole for possibly costing my son his best friend? Second update. Just wanted to say thank you for the incredible outpouring of support. I could have never imagined my post blowing up the way it did. I heard from so many people who have had similar experiences. I am hopeful that maybe Epic, who is Fortnite's creator, can see this and give us a parental control that would block gifting. That in itself seems like it would be huge help. To the people who had to go over the top, please look at yourselves, calling a 10-year-old boy a cunt, threatening violence and just being overly rude. He is a kid who got off the tracks, and yes, what he was doing was wrong, but he is still a kid and he has good parents who I am sure will now pay closer attention to what their kids are doing online. And again, I had many conversations with my son about this not being how friends treat each other. My son is the biggest kid in his class, so I'm not worried about physical threats, but I was sure to explain that bullying comes in many forms and that what his friend was doing was in fact bullying. Yeah, bullying, Billy, sounds good. But I just can't say thank you enough for all of the support and awards. I was able to show my son just how many people cared about his situation and how this whole thing made it to the front page. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Thank you, Reddit. Update. So I went to pick him up from school and he was doing great. He said yes, his friend is mad at him, but that he was still talking to him. Billy has lost his gaming, phone and internet privileges for 30 days and was made to apologize to my son. I was trying to keep my postings somewhat short, so I didn't explain how much we talked about all of this. We go on nightly walks. I took the time to explain that real friends don't this type of stuff, and my son totally understands that. I haven't heard back yet from the mom, but have no reason to think she won't follow through and pay us back. Thank you to all you that commented, and wow. I have never received awards like this before. Thank you to all. And to people posting that why did I do this or saying I made a bad choice, I will just say that I've had many parents and people reply they have gone through similar stuff and that this post hit home with them, so that reason enough to me. Thank you again, everyone. My son, 10, has been playing Fortnite with his best friend for a couple years. For about a year and a half of that time it was just the two of them playing, and in the last 6 months more and more of their classmates have started to join in. My kids are with me every other week, and on the weeks they are here I spend a good amount of time with them, chilling, doing homework, movies, etc. I live with my girlfriend and her 3 kids, so we spend a lot of time in the boys' very large bedroom. About 3 months ago I started noticing my son being upset and found out that he was being kicked from the groups, and at first I was concerned maybe he was being a dickhead or whatever. About 2 months back I was in their room and my son was playing with his friends, and I heard him kind of begging and saying don't kick me, and then he said, I don't have V-Bucks to get you that skin, and then he got kicked. I asked him what was going on and he downplayed it and I let it go. Since that point I've seen the same thing happen a few more times, and I finally got him to open up to me, and it turns out he has been being bullied by his friend for a long time into gifting skins, emotes and other items. I explained to him that I got the V-Bucks for him to get stuff for himself and that I can't afford to be getting his friend's stuff. He said he understood and said he would stop. It turns out that his friend has been doing this to all of his friends, and he opened up to me that he had given this kid 20+ items ranging from 1,200 to 2,000 V-Bucks, $12 minus 20 each. So I've spent anywhere from $250 minus 400 on this kid that I know of. I had written out a long text to the kid's mom a couple weeks back, and for some reason I decided not to send it. Well, Tuesday, yep, you guessed it, I was in the kid's bedroom and I heard, no Billy, I don't have enough V-Bucks to get you that skin. But then I heard, you know what Billy, I've given you more than 20 things and you've given me one. He was of course kicked from the group. That was the last straw for, and I guess for my son. It turns out that the other kids were giving this kid whatever he wanted, and that was why my son often was the one who would get kicked. I told him I was going to be sending his friend's mom a text explaining everything, and I also had some text messages with Billy saying, if you buy me this skin I will re-friend you. He begged me not to send it, but I obviously thought it was important enough that the mom needed to know what her kid was doing. She replied back in a very understanding way, apologizing to my son and to me, and said she would be talking to her son yesterday after school. So my son didn't want to go to school today because he is worried about how things will be. So am I the asshole? Or did I do the right thing? Hard to ruin a 5 years best friend relationship, and yes, I see that this kid wasn't really being a best friend. Oddly, I blame COVID for bringing this on. For 6 months the only place they saw each other was online. And yes, the mother has offered to reimburse us for the V-Bucks.
Not the asshole. Real best friends don't beg their friends to get something for them.
Not the asshole. You are protecting your son from being bullied and financially abused. Your son is not mature enough to understand the situation and you have to do what is best for his interest. He will come to understand your reasons.
Not the asshole. Now you need to sit down with your son explaining why what was being done was so wrong. You don't for the most part buy friendships. That's what he was doing.
Not the asshole. Billy is a awful bully that uses friendship as a weapon. You did the right thing telling his mom. I hope you also sit down with your son and talk to him about everything that happened. When I was little I didn't realize I was being bullied until someone pointed it out.
Not the asshole. That kid wasn't his friend to begin with. Your son is just a genuine soul who obviously cares very deeply for those he thinks are.
Not the asshole. Friendships are on equal ground, not subordinate to one.
Not the asshole. Your son needs to get rid of that friend. No friend would bully and scam others out of hundreds of dollars. This kid shouldn't even have Fortnite if he doesn't want to buy or earn the items himself.
You are most definitely not the asshole for 3 reasons. 1. You did the right thing. 2. You stood up for your son when you learned he was being bullied. 3. You taught that kid a life lesson that bullying people to get what you want is not the way to go while helping your son to get out of a potentially toxic relationship. Not only are you not the asshole but you did the right thing. You get -2/5 butthole points. Not the asshole. This boy was not your kid's best friend. This is a teaching moment for your son. You don't pay for friends to hang out with you.
Not the asshole. If you saw your son's friend taking baseball trading cards or other collectibles on the playground, would you wonder this? Probably not. The only difference is that it's online. Not the asshole. You stood up for your son against a bully. I wish my parents had done that more. Honestly, that kid was not your son's friend. He was someone who used your son for his own advantage, and your son will realize that he is better without him. That said, you need to watch out to make sure your son doesn't face retaliation from the kid for this. If the kid was punished by their parents, it is likely they will take it out on your son when they see him again. More how your son was afraid to go to school. You need to be ready to put a stop to any future bullying if it starts up again.
Not the asshole. It scares me that there are so many kids that are such V-Bucks bullies. The exact same thing happened to my nephew. My boyfriend gifted him V-Bucks, and a friend also started harassing him for a skin. This friend has never gifted him anything. Your son and my nephew are good kids who want to give, share, but never give in to bullies. Good job, Op.
Not the asshole. The kid doesn't sound like a good friend to your son. It's nice that his mother has said she'll repay for the V-Bucks, but Billy obviously isn't a nice kid. Threatening his friend with their continued friendship for money.
Not the asshole. You gave the kids a lot of time to work it out on their own. Sounds like the adults did a good job working it out. Maybe Billy will rethink his behavior once he knows it's out in the open.
Not the asshole, but make sure your son understands why, so that he can understand how friendships should work. Billy isn't a friend, he's a bully. It's hard right now to model that behavior, but perhaps try to give him examples. I'd reach out to other parents as well so they can understand what's been happening.
He's 10 and this may upset him, but you most certainly haven't cost him a friend. This kid is awful. He will make new friends. What's the alternative? Let him keep paying to keep a friend? Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Hope your son is doing well and finds better friends.
Not the asshole. Oh wow. When I was a kid, I was frequently pressured by friends to share snacks, money, etc. and provide for them before myself. It really doesn't feel good. Teach your kid that it's okay to say no and stand up for himself, even if it means losing his friends. As well as to keep friends that actually value you.
NTA. You were calmer than I would have been, realizing I spent $250 to $400 on someone else's kid because of the bullying.
Not the asshole. You did what was best for him, and later in life he will recognize that his friends weren't acting like friends.
Not the asshole. Also, we need an update, please.
That kid was not your kid's friend. You are a good dad. NTA. Not the asshole. Maybe explain to your son why this is so wrong. But other than that, you were right.
Not the asshole. You did your job as a mom. It's very sweet that you worry, but the friend was being a DCK.
Not the asshole. I am so sorry for your son. He did not deserve this and you absolutely did the right thing. I hope that mother actually does something to stop this bullying now because that kid sounds like a little tyrant. From the sounds of it, he doesn't sound like he was ever that great of a friend, and it sucks your son had to befriend him.
Not the asshole. You handled that well. Your son might not realize it now, but he'll be thankful later. It's a blatantly abusive relationship, Billy, towards any of his friend group, not just your son. That's not worth salvaging. Real friends don't treat each other like that. I'm relieved that the mother was also willing to step in because you brought it to her attention. All of the parents involved seem to handle it like civil adults, which is a great way to actually fix things.
NTA. I know your son doesn't see it this way, but that child isn't his friend. He needs to befriend the other kids and then maybe they can all play Fortnite without the moocher. Sad face. Not the asshole. That's not a proper friendship.
You want me to pay to keep playing with you? Why? What makes you so great? Watch the kid splutter to justify why his time is so valuable.
Not the asshole. The kid is clearly not his best friend and is just extorting him. There's just one thing I would add to what you did. I would contact the parents of the other kids. I would bet they are spending money on their children too and have no idea it's really going to the bully. I know if I was a parent of those kids I would want to know.
Not the asshole. Billy is not a friend, he's a bully. Your son will realize eventually that you did what was best for him. Not the asshole, and that is great parenting on both you and his mom's parts.
Not the asshole. You can't have you lil man out there thinking that friends extort each other for gifts. You did the right thing and it's great Billy's mom reacted like a rational person. If the situation escalates, deal with it as it comes, but don't second guess your initial decision.
If anything, I feel like your intervention is more likely to help save the friendship. There needs to be parenting and intervention on your son's friend's side to salvage the relationship, especially if you want it to be a healthy friendship for your son. If things continued as is, either your son would part ways since he can't keep up with the demands, or he'd continue to be taken advantage of. With parental guidance, perhaps the friend will come to apologize, will be monitored more closely when playing online, and learn how to be a better and more respectful friend.
Not the asshole. That mom should definitely be aware of her son's behavior online. He knows exactly what he's doing and the only reason it has continued is because no one has noticed until now. You did the right thing.
Not the asshole. You did the right thing. I know it's a struggle because your son is upset, but you are doing the important work of teaching him not to be a doormat for bullies. I really think it's important that you let him know this was for him, not for you. It's because he's being bullied and that's wrong. Not because you don't have the money to get the other kids skins. It's a small distinction but an important one. Also, I bet the other kids are getting sick of the bully. Maybe they could use a nudge to let them know they can play without him.
Not the asshole. Your son will be upset for now, but in the long run you are teaching him that he should not give in to people like this kid. Even if he will never know to tell you this, you are setting a great example that will hopefully lead to him finding actual friends, because we all know this kid was not his real friend.
Not the asshole. That's not a best friend. That behavior needs to be nipped in the bud.
Not the asshole. That kid is not his friend.
Not the asshole at all, but I think spending $500 on Fortnite skins for a 10-year-old is wild and not the best idea.
Not the asshole. You are teaching your son a valuable lesson in standing up for himself. That kid is no friend. They are a bully. Give me, insert thing, or I will, insert threat, is straight up blackmail. You did the right thing, Dad.
Not the asshole. I mean, calling his mom is something you want to be more careful about when the kinds get a bit older, but at 10 seems totally appropriate.
Not the asshole. In the moment he might be scared, but he will never forget that you stood up for him. For the rest of his life he will remember that he mattered enough to you that you did something about it. Later in life, if he runs into this situation again, he will remember this and know from example how to confront such a shitty friend. Good dadding. And #X200B. P.S. I'm assuming you and your kid's mom have talked about this too. Let her know what you've done. Hopefully she's on side with you doing this and will reinforce the lesson that no one should treat your son this way.
What I'm glad for is the son did actually stand up for himself a bit before Op stepped in. Now as parents Op does need to step in to protect their child. I would explain that he did good standing up for himself, but now it's OP's turn to make sure he is safe and loved, and parents need to be involved as real friends don't behave that way. Maybe down the road this friend might realize what they lost. Maybe not, but the kid is better off without that toxic relationship. Not the asshole here.
Not the asshole. You taught your son a valuable lesson in how real friends treat one another, and you brought something to another mom's attention that it sounds like she had no idea about, giving her the opportunity to address it with her son. If you sat by and did nothing, it would teach both boys that Billy's behavior is perfectly acceptable. Billy would continue to treat his friends horribly, and your son would continue to allow people to take advantage of him in order to fit in. Kudos to you for doing the right thing.
Not the asshole. You weren't ruining a friendship. You were teaching your son how to set appropriate boundaries. The good news here is that the mom you contacted appears to have her head in the right place. Both sets of parents need to handle this correctly, and you are doing your part. Not the asshole. Talk to your kid about standing up for himself though. He needs to understand why you're doing this and why he should do it for himself in the future. If he has friends that are manipulating him, they're not actually friends, no matter what they say. Actual friends do not behave that way.
Not the asshole. This is going to hurt him for a little while, but in the long run you saved him from a potentially very harmful and manipulative friendship. And you brought the behavior to the parents' attention, possibly kicking that kid off of a really horrible path in life. Not the asshole. You can't cost your son a friend he didn't have.
Not the asshole. I used to have friends who placed conditions on our friendship, and the effects of that still fucks me up at 31 years old. He deserves better friends, and he's lucky he has a father like you to stand up for him.